Welcome to Audible Sportscast, your home for all things sports. Welcome back to another episode. We have Brett, Jeff, and Cody here today, and let's get right into it. So, this week, the really big news has been the fact that Lamar Jackson tweeted, of course, because he doesn't have an agent to talk for him or to have someone talk to a NFL reporter, said that he, on March 2nd, requested a trade. So,
it's becoming such a circus.
It really is. I mean, I kind of leave this question. Like, this alone, him requesting a trade, and we not hearing about it for over 3 weeks, should that itself warrant him to just get an agent on top of everything else?
That alone. Well, first of all, why did he let it go silent for 3 weeks if he really didn't want to be with the Ravens? That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't think he really knows what he's doing, and
all he's doing is devaluing himself.
Yeah, he's just losing.
Because he's already a mobile quarterback who can't stay healthy. So, and now all this, and then guaranteed money.
Yeah, I mean, he's wanting a Deshaun Watson base deal, but he's even overvalued.
The world realizes what the Browns are known for, being
dumb.
Yeah, I'd say something worse, but I'm just gonna let it go.
I mean, from at least what I've seen, maybe he, I don't know, because, guaranteed contracts in the NFL, which we'll talk about here again later, are in themselves a slippery slope. Only a handful of players have really ever gotten them. And now with the fact that not only did Watson get a fully guaranteed contract last offseason, but it was a high valued contract. Like when Kirk Cousins got his back in 2018, that didn't change the market really at all because it was a lower, in some ways, a lower total money. But it was one of the first, if not like the first, under kind of the whole new structure of the NFL now. But
now, me personally, I think the only NFL players that deserve guaranteed contracts are punters, kickers, and long snappers, because the chance of them getting hurt is very minimal.
That makes that to an extent makes sense. You can argue that maybe
you can argue if you wanted a guaranteed contract in the NFL, you should have played another sport that was non-contact.
I mean, if you look at the NBA and MLB, all of their contracts are completely guaranteed. So,
well, yeah, they're non-contact sports.
Yeah.
It's non-contact until you have a 90-mile-per-hour fastball coming right at your skull.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's not happening every single game or even every single year. I mean, I guess it maybe happens once or twice. Don't quote me on that, I guess, but.
And it's looked at every time it happens.
Yeah.
I'm actually shocked that a team like Green Bay hasn't thought about giving up 2 firsts for Lamar. And
well,
so there's the only one I can name that of owners that have came out and said that they're not fans of big, fully guaranteed contracts. The Colts are one of, or Jim Irsay is one of them. So
that has
the Colts are out of that.
Yeah, I mean, he said from an owner's perspective, which tells me that he's not completely against it. Like
I think the Andrew Luck scenario is why.
I'd say he's completely against it.
Well,
I think it's because of what happened with Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, as an owner, you don't want to pay someone guaranteed money when especially with after what they saw with Andrew Luck.
Now, here's a question for both of you. Just right now, today, if you had to sign Patrick Mahomes, would you sign him to a guaranteed contract?
Yeah, because he's played numerous times hurt, and
No, I know.
and he's back
but
the next game. Like,
that's the problem is people are putting him in the same category as Mahomes.
yeah, but he doesn't deserve to be.
No one
No.
should be in Mahomes's.
No.
And we're about to see a handful of young quarterbacks be put at that same level of contract because Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts all can start negotiating contracts this offseason.
It's so weird. Like, to me, Justin Herbert still has yet to prove himself.
He doesn't deserve an extension. I don't know. Not yet.
Not a bank run. No,
I don't think he's gonna. I think the market's gonna reset with these guys. Maybe.
it should, but
It's hard for me to say that we'll see at least the quarterback market reset. We've seen other positions reset, kind of. I mean, the wide receiver market seems to have reset compared to last year. The running back market over the last few years have kind of reset, but quarterback, I just feel like is one of those positions that
the running back market's completely plummeted.
oh yeah, I mean, if you're not franchise tagged, which good luck getting a team to franchise tag you, you're going to be getting pennies on the dollar.
Like, would I rather have one workhorse, or would I rather have two workhorses of the price of one?
Yeah.
Or
Problem is these guys are babies now.
Yeah, less than the price of one, actually.
Besides concussions, they're babies.
Yeah.
Because you can't, when they get in concussion protocol, there's nothing you can do. Just if they have to sit out a game, they have to sit out. But the rest of it, I think these guys. I mean, you look at Adrian Peterson. He barely missed any games until the end of his career.
I mean, he tore his ACL and was back.
Other
in
than
a
his
couple
injury,
months.
yeah. Other than that, but
But he was still he should have missed that whole next year, and then he ended up running for 2,000 yards.
I mean, I know he's a unique example because he's a freak athlete. He was a freak athlete.
I mean, it sounds like he might come back. So
I would say the NFL is a lot better than NBA in that situation, though. The NBA is like the worst sport with sitting out for stubbing your toe.
Because they let baseball, MLB's just as bad.
yeah,
But they do play a lot more games, so it's hard to say on that.
and we don't maybe hear it as much too from baseball because that is I mean, they're playing a lot more games. Sometimes they're playing double headers like the same day, so it's like.
But you'll also have the guys who get those giant guaranteed contracts like Albert Pujols did. And
Yeah.
he just played DH pretty much.
Yeah, it's
Which,
kind
why sit out a game when you're just hitting?
yeah, and then you have guys like Shohei who will literally pitch 6-7 innings and also stand there and just hit bombs.
Yeah,
And-
but he's young.
I mean,
so we'll see when he gets older.
He's up for a new contract after this year. He could be someone.
It's gonna be big.
He might completely reset what we see from any sports franchise or sports league, other than
his
soccer.
next two contracts, if he gets, which I think he'll get two more in his
More
career,
than likely.
he could buy his own pro team
I mean, yeah, he's.
or be almost half of.
I was looking at the numbers because I was just trying to find some numbers on things before we went today, and so Shohei Ohtani makes more money off of endorsements right now.
And not even here.
No, he is kind of the face of Japan in the league right now. So I mean, even when he was playing back in the Japanese league, he was all over. He's making, I believe, $30 million this year to play. That's just his baseball contract. And because it is MLB, it's a fully guaranteed.
And what is he? $250 million.
I believe the number was 35 million this year on endorsements.
Oh, I was guessing some crazy.
Now LeBron,
crazy
it's like
number.
over 100 million in endorsements, but he also was just in a movie a couple years ago and like has his Nike deals, and you know he's bigger than the game at this point. But I mean it's worth noting too that the NFL is much different than both the NBA and MLB when it comes to contracts. One, because they're not fully guaranteed contracts, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense that these players are wanting more money. For one, like, you know, it's just you got to get your money while you can. And two, the NFL teams themselves make much more money than these leagues are. These other, like, sports franchises are. Or sports.
Yeah, but I look at it this way. Okay, if Lamar Jackson's so worried about... what he's worried about is he can't stay healthy. The only people that deserve guaranteed contracts are the people who, like, I'm going to use Joe Thomas as an example.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, granted, he's a fluke, but my thing is, then take out an insurance policy on yourself if you get hurt. Then you still get paid if you're so worried about getting hurt. Or the team takes it out. That's my solution to all this. But I'm no lawyer, I'm no agent, I'm no expert at this. So
I don't know too much about it, but do we see a lot of sports players do that other than like soccer players?
College?
Like getting insurance policies on
college? Happens a lot in college.
Does it really? Huh.
Yes. Sometimes the schools take it out for them. It's part of their deal.
Wow, I mean...
I forget who the most recent one was. Let me see. I can find it. Here you go. The NCAA right now provides a maximum of $3 million of insurance policies for top college football players.
But, okay, I mean, that's...
Honestly, I wasn't even really aware that happened in the pros.
As far as I know, I think only, like, the very top soccer players do it. Like, they take insurance policies on their legs, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. But that covers here's a question. I don't know this. Should have looked it up. Are those guys... do those guys get guaranteed contracts with soccer? I don't remember.
Honestly, couldn't tell you.
I would assume they do. I know there's I mean, especially when you're talking about the Messis and the Ronaldos, there's a lot more money in that when you talk about, you know, they're the, like, in every other country but the U.S., they're, like, the sports guys. So I'm not sure, and it probably varies for different league, because I don't know if the Premier League or the Spanish League or whatever do the same thing, even though it's all the same pool of players. So I'm not sure. Let's look it up.
I mean,
here I got one here. So there was a guy on the Eagles, Warmack. He received a $1.5 million contract from the Eagles last year. He filed to collect on a policy because he got hurt, and the maximum payout was $3 million. And it's called a loss of value policy.
Huh.
That's just my thing is, if you're, you know, and an insurance company will do it, but as someone like Lamar Jackson's going to be higher risk than someone who never got hurt.
yeah, it's like a 16-year-old teenage boy driving a Mercedes.
It's like, yeah, it's getting yeah, exactly. Now, is someone like Mahomes going to be that much cheaper? No. But for the policy. But that's my thing is if you're that worried, you should do something like that. I'm bothered that I think he thinks his value's worth more, and I'm so sick of the race card getting pulled in, and all these other things, but
You just watch ESPN. That's all it talks about.
to be honest, I don't think. Even the years he won MVP, I don't know. To me, the MVP award should be somebody who takes their team deep into the playoffs. But
I mean, for a while, that the MVP was someone who was.
yeah, I know, and I hate to say that because someone like J.J. Watt has won it, but that's
Well, not
those
MVP.
days, I think. Didn't he?
No, he had a MVP vote one year.
Oh
But
yeah, MVP vote. But no, the years of the time of defensive players getting it are dead. It's just I'm so sick of Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers overshadowing everything in this NFL offseason. It's just I've had enough.
I mean, it seems like there's always. I mean, at least for the last 3 off seasons, it has been Aaron Rodgers overshadowing everything
yeah.
else. But
Well, it may be controversial, but at Aaron Rodgers' age, he still has more value than Lamar.
I think that's debatable. I think.
I don't know. If I want a quarterback to take me to the playoffs, I think I have the better chance with Aaron.
If you're a win right now, like the next 2 years, yes. I think if you're
at
such a team
least
like
the
the
next
Jets,
year.
Well, I mean,
I
Lamar-
think he adds more value to the Jets. Like a 3-4. If he can stay healthy, when they get their team, they keep building this team. The Jets could be like a powerhouse in 2 seasons. You know.
yeah, I just see Lamar's clock ticking really, really fast.
With Aaron Rodgers, we kind of at least assume that he's going to go to the Jets. With Lamar,
Well, look, he's crippled that team. They have made one off-season move. That's it. The Ravens. The Chuck Clark trade. That's it.
I mean, they went out and signed Nelson Aguilar to be their big-time wide receiver.
Two. They made 2 off-season. That was recent, the Aguilar, last couple of days. But yeah, 2. He's crippled them because they don't know what to do.
What do you mean? He asked for a trade. They could have traded him, and then there you go. They don't have to worry about it.
They don't want to trade him.
Why?
They also don't want to pay him. So I don't know.
This is a very complicated situation, or I don't know if it's complicated, but a very.
But he's just gonna hurt himself if he sits out and doesn't play.
Yeah, no.
Because he doesn't get paid.
And that was a question I wanted to ask. I mean, we're seeing it feels like more and more teams that either show signs they don't want to, sign or trade for him. Should Lamar sit out? And I think it's
Even if he does, he'll still get paid by somebody because look at Michael Vick went to jail and still made money after.
when you have talent, I think eventually someone will give you a chance. If it's what you necessarily want or what you feel your value is, that's a whole different other thing. So I mean, so much of this is happening behind closed doors. We don't really know what is happening. Obviously, anything that does come out is what the team or the media wants us to think about the situation.
I'm kind of over it. I hope he gets traded to the Commanders, and we all know how his career will go from there. So,
well, hey, there's today, or at least these last couple of days, there's been some big money supposedly being offered to buy that franchise. So,
yeah, I know, but that doesn't mean they're gonna change the curse of the Commanders / Redskins.
I mean,
That Canadian billionaire, whatever his name is.
yeah, I can't.
And a group with Magic Johnson and other people. There's 2.
That have came out so far, and they're talking potentially $6 billion is the price tag, which skyrockets.
And Dan Snyder paid like $50 million for, or $500 million for it.
Yeah, and I mean last year the Broncos were purchased for $4.6 billion. So McCaskies, if you're listening, you're gonna make some profit off of old George House's $1 buy-in for the league. Or did I say
That's
$1?
insane.
I meant $100.
That's a lot of capital gains, though.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yes,
we'll see. But
that is a lot.
But before we leave this, Lamar Jackson, where do we think if he plays, where does he play next season?
I don't think he plays.
I can't think of a name or a team that's willing to give that much up. And with him,
I'd normally say Dallas if they needed a quarterback and didn't have Dak under contract, but they do. So
even if they didn't, there's no way they
eh,
would do that.
Jerry Jones likes to spend money.
he's at the end. Jerry Jones is getting old and senile, so you never know. Now, if Al Davis was still around, he'd already be.
He would have given up 5 first-round picks and given him
he'd already
a
be.
$1 billion contract. It's all.
Yeah, I just can't think. I honestly can't think of a team that's
Yeah.
in the position or willing to.
Now, if we're having the same conversation after the draft, which is completely possible, that Lamar doesn't see a team like get a contract or traded with till after the draft, which I think some of these teams are maybe waiting to see if they could get a young quarterback. Depending on what happens early in the draft, maybe we see a couple teams give a bid, give a trade offer. Say I know I always bring up the Colts, but say they don't get a chance at a quarterback they like, there's
no way they will.
I
It's
don't know.
either they get a quarterback in the draft or they're tanking again and Minshew's going to start and they're going to – because next year's draft is a lot heavier than this year's.
Yep.
That's what
This year's quarterbacks are scrubs.
They're not scrubs. I think
Compared to next year's, they are. In my eyes, other than Stroud.
you could say Will Levis is kind of a Mitch Trubisky type. Richardson is getting too much hype because of his athletic ability, but
Which,
but we're hearing what the media wants us to hear, so we don't really know the 100% facts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of waiting for the next year because we never know what can happen. I mean, there's been many years. Like, I've looked at a lot of super early mock drafts that have had guys, especially of the quarterback variety, that go early that don't even get drafted within the first 5 rounds. I know Caleb Williams is supposed to be this amazing thing, and he easily could be, but we don't know what can happen in the year. He might get hurt or regress, which I doubt. Lincoln Riley makes nothing but franchise quarterback, or at least guys coming in the league look like franchise quarterbacks. He's had Baker, he's had Kyler, he's had Jalen Hurts. He's had some good quarterbacks, and he now at USC has Caleb Williams. But I will see. I've seen way too many years where people say wait for the next year, and it turns out they shouldn't have. So
Yeah, I know.
we'll see. But we've talked a lot about how salaries in the NFL, MLB, NBA, different leagues kind of go. And it's made me think of the situation we're at hand now with how not only the NFL works, but, there's been, at least last year when the new CBA for the MLB was up and there was a little bit of a strike about how the MLB should go. The NBA has always kind of been an interesting league and how they do their contracts, but I relay the question of the NFL. We've seen the NFL make more money than any other league, yet we've seen them give the smaller contracts. Yeah, I know there is a lot more players in the NFL, but I bring the question, should the NFL get rid of or change up the salary cap?
No.
does it really matter anyways?
No, because they can maneuver it. But I'm getting to the point where when is enough, and these players aren't going to realize that you're not making it affordable for fans to come see you play. It is no longer a family experience. unless your family unless a family of four wants to go spend $100 to $500 depending on the event.
But is that all on the NFL players? We're seeing we're seeing owners.
I think it's on all the sports. I think it's a lot. Yeah, I think it is.
I mean, we're seeing these, especially in the NFL. We're seeing these owners agree to these multi-TV deals where they're getting billions and billions of dollars, which there informs the players that these owners are making much more money off of them. So it turns into more, labor unions.
It's
Yeah, but they're the owner.
Yeah, it's almost like they own a business.
Yeah. I mean, it's a two-way street. The owners could be more compassionate too, and obviously there's certain owners like, one that's leaving Washington, you know what I mean, but that are terrible. But the thing is, with the economy currently, they need to reevaluate. And I think all the contracts in every sport need to be, at least in the U.S., need to be reset. Not saying they're going to drop drastically, but they need to be rethought. In my opinion.
I agree that they definitely should be, but I just don't. With how much money is being thrown around with really all the major leagues that we see in the world, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
So
as long as there's people interested in buying the teams, if someone wants to sell it for $4 billion or $5 billion, yes. But at some point there'll come a time when nobody wants to buy them. I think because if the Commanders are worth $10 billion in 5 years, that's absurd. Or 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to continue to see the TV rights? Like, I think right now the NFL has 5 TV rights that combine they're for around $10 billion, I want to say, or close to $10 billion.
Well, and what happens if somebody doesn't want to? What happens if all the companies that pay for TV rights decided, let's not do it? Let's force their hand. Then what's the NFL going to do if they have nowhere to stream their games or play their game, watch people to watch their games? Then what?
I don't think that could happen. If that were to happen, that would be many years down the line.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I just think I
think in a competitive market, we'll never not see someone at least give a good chunk of money for it. I mean, there's lots of networks out there.
I know. I'm just throwing out.
Oh yeah,
hypotheticals.
I know. I just with the way the NFL salary cap is, we're seeing in leagues like the MLB where there's no salary cap, and even the NBA, while there is one, it's a soft cap with a luxury tax. I know the MLB has one too, but we are seeing where those two other leagues, and I bring those two up the most because of all the North American leagues, they're the ones that are 2 and 3 of what makes the most money. I mean,
they're the reason we're talking about the NFL today, because they chose to do these funny salary caps. Well, basically no salary cap, which means your player development is non-existent, really. You're scrapping guys, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where you just don't have to develop a guy. You just scrap him. It's cheaper to scrap a guy than try to develop him nowadays.
But how much of that too is say, for example, the MLB, that we have these teams in small markets that just refuse to buy or to sell, or I guess they are selling, but to buy players. They let them go because they don't care about, the revenue they make per se. They more care about
But it shouldn't be about who can buy the best team. It should be who can build the best team. That's my issue with all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the NFL should completely get rid of the salary cap. I just think that in some ways limits the players' ability to get the contracts maybe they don't deserve, but they think they deserve, and we're causing situations that we kind of see now where we're seeing a lot more guys sit out over the last 5 years than 6 years than we ever have.
Yeah.
Because they think they deserve this money, whether they do or not. That's a story for a whole nother day. But we're seeing in these other leagues, like, hey, NBA, fully guaranteed contracts, you can make, the highest guys make around, of all the big leagues, the top 5 or so guys are all making around the same money, but the other 2 leagues, they're all fully guaranteed contracts. If they leave, they know for sure they are getting that elsewhere. The NFL, it's not always the same, and there's a lot more positional discrepancy. Like, you're the only people in the NFL that are getting that money is quarterbacks. Well, in every other league, if you're a really good player, whether you're a pitcher, you're an outfielder, you're a point guard, shooting guard, center, it's if you're not a quarterback in the NFL, you're not going to make the big money you see in other leagues. So,
yeah, but because you can get by with an average center in the NFL, but you can't get by with an average quarterback.
Unless the whole rest of the team's studded.
Yep.
Yeah, and
see, that's the thing. It's a business, and the quarterback is the marketing tool.
The quarterback is the business.
Exactly.
Essentially.
That's what brings in the money. If you have a good quarterback, that's going to be the leading jersey seller.
Oh, I don't disagree that quarterback should be, the highest paid players on their teams. I guess more.
Well, and here, speaking of business, I thought this fun fact. Did you know that for someone to buy someone else's jersey, like here, Juju Smith-Schuster wants his number when he goes on the Patriots. It's not that he has to pay Judon to get his number. Do you know he has to buy all the unsold jerseys the NFL has?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
He has to pay for them all.
It's like when.
That's so absurd.
Yeah. And that.
The NFL could just donate them, and restock the new jerseys with the number. It's absurd to me. When I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness.
That's what players have to do too when they want to change their number. Like I remember. In the NBA that pretty much Anthony Davis and LeBron wanted to switch numbers, and they couldn't because they would have to buy out all the jerseys that were sold, or not sold but were already printed, which was because it's those.
That's absurd to me. It's absurd though.
It's
that you donate they donate the jerseys to somewhere
tax
else.
write-off.
Just like the Super Bowl shirts that they donate, you know.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. They donate all the Super Bowl shirts that they made for the other team, but because no one,
I think there needs to be a line drawn somewhere because players would be changing their jerseys every year.
Well, yeah, of course. But I think we're really on the same topic. Just a bunch of all these little subsidies of the same topic. It's all about money.
It's a business, like we keep saying. It's a business. People got to make their money somehow. And if that's fining a player for punching a dude, that's a way to get money, I guess, fining them. But it's interesting. I think the thing of just that I keep going back and forth about with the salary cap. I know I keep bringing it back up, but if it is a business and we're in a very, a big open market that we're in, why would you want to limit how much money you can spend to make your team better? That's at least in some ways maybe an owner's argument, other than you don't want to pay more for players than you want to be able to make
the NFL would be in big trouble.
Oh, it definitely would be.
We'd only have one good team a division, essentially, sometimes, and I don't know. I think it would really screw up everything.
So the reason why is because I think the NFL wants to keep a cap on things, like kind of in the name, like keep everything under control. Because once you do that, leagues can get out of control, and then you get, like you said, like Brett said, uncontrollable dynasties. I don't know. I feel like the NFL would be a lot worse than the NBA.
I think you'd have teams that would have, with these big TV deals or not, I think we'd have some cities that would be wanting to close stadiums, and it would be bad.
And like these poverty franchises wouldn't be able to do. I don't know what they would be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the numbers, say the NFL did go to a situation closer to baseball, where there is no salary cap and there's also no salary floor, which is something that, if you're going to argue baseball needs to change, it would be the floor aspect to it, not maybe the no cap situation. But the NFL has, for at least the revenue in 2021, their 2 through 32 are all less than $200 million when it comes to revenue difference. New England Patriots at 651. Detroit Lions made $452 million. Guess who's number one? Cowboys in 2021 made $1.087 billion, according to the numbers I found. That's $400 million.
Because they're always on TV, if you haven't noticed, for some odd reason.
Well, guess who?
Yeah, they're always in.
Guess who leads the negotiations for all the TV deals for the NFL? Jerry Jones. So.
Well, because they still have the status of being America's team, but literally no one agrees with that. Other than
no one outside of the Dallas area, that's for sure. But, I mean, if the NFL were to go to a situation like the MLB, the Cowboys immediately turn into the Yankees, the Dodgers. Like, they go and get... Jerry Jones has literally came out and said that, he not spares no expense. That's Jurassic Park. But, like, he writes the checks. Like, he is okay spending a bunch of money on everything. So we would see a situation where the Cowboys be like, oh, Lamar, like, or maybe not Lamar, but like any high level, free agent that was available, they would probably go and get, because that's just.
So I don't know. Jerry Jones likes spending his big money on the worst, where he shouldn't.
Problem is, we could. With money, we could talk for 5 hours here. I don't think we want to bore everybody to death forever here.
Yeah. Money's boring unless you have it.
That is very true. I guess I'll leave it with this. If there were to be a change, and you're looking at comparable leagues, the NBA would be the next closest, I think, in the sense of they do have a salary cap, but they have certain limits on how you can go around that with the luxury tax. Maybe make it a little bit more extreme of a luxury tax, where you have to you get taxed a lot more for every dollar over you go on the salary cap. Or they have the Larry Bird exception, bird rights, where you can go over the cap to sign homegrown players. That is something interesting that the NFL could maybe look at, but I think you definitely should not get rid of the salary cap whatsoever. It's just the owners.
I agree. Don't get rid
the owners.
of it.
For one, would never agree to that, and they're the ones who have to vote on it. So I will never see a change. So, in some ways, maybe it's redundant even talking about it, because we won't see a change because of the owners. But it's fun to debate or talk about it, at least.
It is. It's an interesting topic.
It is, and when you're talking about something like the NFL, you're talking about a very big business. I mean, I joke around and call it a $1 trillion corporation, because in some ways it kind of is when you look at how much money is out there from it, whether it's people buying tickets to games, TV rights, not baseball cards, but football cards, like what football games. Like, there's a lot of money put into this game, in so
food
many.
sponsorships,
What's that?
like food sponsorships.
Oh yeah, I mean,
see it on like food you buy, like partnered with
oh yeah,
NFL.
or the money players get from advertising certain foods, or it's just it's.
Yeah. You can't go anywhere without seeing the NFL. Really.
Unless you want to go. I mean, even going in the middle of the desert, I'm sure you'll see a plane fly by with a banner that says, "Go."
Well, I meant like stores
yeah.
and stuff. I don't really see any other league popping out. NFL things are like every holiday.
But I don't know. Let us know down in the comments what you think the NFL should do. Maybe tell us where you think Lamar Jackson should go. And while you're commenting, also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow our socials that are always linked down below. And just enjoy life. Opening day is also today, the day this comes out. So if you're a baseball fan and you just heard us talk about the money, maybe, I don't know, don't buy a ticket if you feel like they're making way too much money, or do buy a ticket and have a good time, because every single team plays on opening day. So find your local team and go watch some hopefully good games or bad games. I mean, depends how you feel about baseball, but have a good time, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Audible Sportscast, your home for all things sports.